Round Rock Preservation. Our other board members that are here, blue shirts. Let's see, we have Audrey, Shirley, Amy back here, Frank, and Ann. And Kirsten is with the Historic Preservation Office for the city. And Yolanda is a very active member of Round Rock Preservation, and we are always grateful for her help. Thank you. I just want to give you some update. Were any of you at the Stagecoach Inn on Saturday for our big event over there? No. We were. We were all there. It was phenomenal. We probably had over 200 people. Someone counted 250. It was very well attended. The inn is gorgeous. Katie Baker with the Parks and Recreation Department was the project manager on that. And the construction company, the contractor, has done a beautiful job. So when we're able to open that up to the public, I hope that you'll take an opportunity to go inside. Hopefully we'll be able to have some education programs there and be able to utilize that facility. But it was a great event. The mayor spoke, and Rick with the Parks and Recreation Department. Lots of city council members were there. Well represented for the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that Audrey is on she's a commissioner for the HPC, and many of those commissioners were there. Williamson Museum was a great partner in putting that on. There were history reenactors that were there, dressed in period clothing, depicting the 1850s residents of Round Rock, which was great to hear stories of those individuals that lived back then. And we had music, cookies and refreshments, and people taking lots of pictures. There's a commemorative brick display that's there right behind the inn. The people that bought bricks years ago, that was a big fundraiser that Round Rock Preservation did to raise money for the restoration. And those bricks were displayed for the first time. All of that was very exciting. Hope I'm not forgetting anything about that. And we had, I've named some of the volunteers. We had IKEA and HEB locally provide all of their refreshments for us that day. So there were just parts and pieces from all over Williamson County that were involved in putting on that event. And the Boy Scout troop, 352, from here in Round Rock, were very, very helpful that day. Those young guys were just blowing and going and helping wherever they needed to help. So we were grateful to have them participate as well. So I just wanted to give you that update. And then our speakers today, Ricci Strayhorn in the blue and Ken Rogers with our Urban Forestry Division here in Round Rock. I wanted to do some research myself about what is an arborist and how do you become a certified arborist, because I didn't know the answers to that, and maybe all of you already know that, but I'll just share this with you anyway. Is it
arboriculture?
Thank you. Arboriculture?
You can say it that way, or arboriculture.
Arboriculture. Okay. It's a subfield of horticulture. I know about that one. And it's related to the study, cultivation, health, and maintenance of ornamental shrubs and trees in rural and urban areas. Arborists, informally called tree surgeons, ensure the well-being and aesthetic quality of trees in residential and commercial settings. These professionals also make decisions about trees and how they impact human safety, including trimming or uprooting trees to protect power lines and sidewalks. So they have to, a person to be certified as an arborist has to complete formal education in one of those fields: horticulture, landscape, architecture, or forestry from an accredited educational institute. And what I read online, it said regionally. So I guess it needs to be regional because that's where you learn more about
The native trees.
the native
in the
trees
area.
in the area.
Yeah,
You don't
know if
agree with
that's-
that?
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't always work out that way.
And then they have to apply for a state license if that's required, and I think it is in Texas.
Not a state license, no, but you have to go through the International Society of Arboriculture and take a test, and there's pre-qualifications for technical tests.
So it's not like you can just say, I'm an arborist. There's a lot of study and work that goes into that. On-the-job training for at least 3 years, practical work experience in that field before you can be certified and understand all the safety guidelines. So both Ricci and Ken are certified arborists. And Ricci is the Forestry Manager for the city of Round Rock, and he served in that capacity with the Forestry Division for 21 years, providing his tree care industry experience to further our urban forestry department and our efforts here in Round Rock. He's been an ISA certified arborist, and there is a number that is assigned for that since 2006, and an ISA municipal specialist. And he has additional certification from the state of Texas as a licensed irrigator. There's a license number. He is a third generation Central Texan, so he really understands our environment here and the challenges of our crazy weather that we have. Ken Rogers is an arborist, and he's served for 18 years here with the city of Round Rock. He's an ISA certified arborist, and he's had that designation since 2009. He holds state of Texas licensed irrigator certification. Ken's an Army veteran. Thank you for your service. And they are going to talk about what their department does for the city of Round Rock, and we'll take all kinds of questions that you might have about trees, planting, or native trees, tree formations that you see around Round Rock. And I think you're going to give us the specifications for a tree to become a monarch tree.
We'll let you know where to find that information because it's very.
Okay. So join me in welcoming Ricci and Kim. Thank you for being here.
All right, so yeah, my name is Ricci. I am the third urban forestry that the city has had. It was the original one didn't last for long, and I don't know why I was not here. And then a recent name that you guys may not know was Imsu Varazovic. He was our forestry manager for many years and put together this program as we know it, and the tree ordinance that development goes by. So I was able to kind of ride his coattails and learn all that I possibly could from him well, I've been now 21 years working here, so he's been gone he was here like a year before I started, and then he's been gone now for a couple of years. So I had a good 18 years of learning from one of the best about the trade, the work that we do. So to back up on the stagecoach end, we actually worked on that project 3 years ago. So before the stagecoach end could be moved down Chisholm, we had to go and prune all the trees because the building was so big, and they had to close off the street for us to do the work just to prep before the building could go down the road. So we really don't have much to do with park development projects unless it has a tree in it. and then we're included. So usually if it's got a tree involved, Ken and I are, we're usually knee-deep in it, but until then, his hands off. Yes, ma'am.
Did you clear the trees and the things around the stagecoach in and prep it would move? I know that was the first stage. That
Yeah. So we pruned the trees down Chisholm, and it helped to get it clear enough for the building to get through. So before it was moved.
I have some photos of that.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So were you there on Sunday morning, the last bit of that move?
No, we got in, I think, the week before that, Saturday, and stayed out of it after that.
Someone had to, on that morning, there was a tree that was in the way,
Okay.
and someone had to do some additional trimming for the house to, as it approached Low Water Bridge.
Yeah, I think I just took a call on the left or the west end, or the west
Yeah.
side, probably, right there before the
Yeah, it
water
was.
crossing. Yeah, that was the house mover. We came and cleaned it up afterwards. We went and did the professional stuff. But anyway, so I'm just going to go through our the Urban Forestry Division, kind of what we do, how our team is, the makeup of our team, how many employees, and then go through some of the services that we provide to the citizens. And some of this you can find on our website. Some of it you can't, so I'm just going to go through it. Look at my notes here. So, who recognizes that tree? Anybody? All right. So, at one point in time, that was the biggest live oak, Orchis virginiana, in the country. So that's the aptly named Big Tree down on Goose Island State Park. I don't know if you guys know where that is. That's down near Rockport, Texas, on the Lamar Peninsula. It's believed to be well over 1,000 years old. So that tree has seen a lot of hurricanes. You name it. It's been through a lot. The size of the tree. We in our business we measure trees by diameter of breast height. This one has a diameter of 134 inches.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
does that measurement incorporate all of the below the big branches?
No, it does. It's a trunk. It's a trunk measurement.
Okay, so, okay.
And normally the average size large live oak that you see around here, like let's say between these two buildings, are probably going to be somewhere around 36 to 40 inches diameter breast height. That's 134. So much larger than anything that we come across here. So it's pretty awesome. It's a awe-inspiring sight, at least for me, when you go down to Goose Island and see it. As you're driving into the park, you see these signs that say "Big Tree," and it's like I didn't know any better when I first found it. So I just kept. My wife was with me. She put up with my, "Oh, we're gonna go look at a big tree," I was joking about it. All of a sudden, it's an actual tree, the biggest tree at one point in time in the United States, live oak. Pretty awesome. They found another one that was much larger, but yeah, it's got a canopy spread of 90 feet. So like that's 30 yards on a football field, right? So it's pretty awe-inspiring. So
How big is the trees in the First Methodist Church courtyard in the back? They have some pretty big trees.
is that the one up here on 79?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm not certain, I don't know if I've ever measured those, but they are definitely of monarch size. You know, be kept, and I think they developed around those more than likely when they were building that facility. So, anyway, when I get a chance to talk about the big tree, I'll talk about it. So, this is the mission of the Urban Forestry Division. Is the management of Round Rock's urban forest, uses the best management practices and communication of such to citizens, employees, and developers of Round Rock, with a focus on education, tree planting, tree preservation, tree care, and enforcement. The Round Rock Parks and Recreation Department Forestry Division works to improve the city's landscape and environment. The division assists with tree ordinances, oversees city brush recycling programs, tree plantings in parks, and Arbor Day celebrations. A few years back, we used to be a lot more involved in the tree protection ordinance. But there was a change a few years back to where they put all the development services under one roof, and we don't serve in that capacity to where we're reviewing plans each and every day like we used to. Instead, right now, when they need some professional tree advice or something like that, you know, to do a tree condition assessment on a tree to make sure it's worth saving, or if it's, you know, in good enough shape to go ahead and put the time and effort to do it, to do so. They'll call me and I just go over what I call expert opinion on that. So that's our extent in the preservation. Any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
What is the ordinance? Does it say developers cannot remove a certain size tree, or what does the ordinance say?
It spells out the tree sizes that are protected and the mitigation for them. It's by sizes and species. But that, like I said, that's under plan development services. So, any other questions on that? Probably need to go through.
And I've looked through the technical manual.
Mm-hmm.
Does that apply to like developers only, or is some of it applicable to private residential properties?
So that's a good question. When IMSA put together this tree ordinance, he wanted to make sure that trees were protected on commercial development sites. Even though he wasn't from around here, he still understood private property rights and the fact that we probably shouldn't be meddling in somebody else's own private property and what they can do with their trees, with the lone exception of the monarch-sized trees. So the monarch-sized trees, there is a process to go through if you're needing to remove one or to do anything around it. Just give us a call and we can answer those questions and help you out with it. So, yes, ma'am.
What is a monarch-sized tree?
So monarch-sized trees they're a tree of a certain size, but the size depends on the species.
Okay.
So a live oak monarch-sized tree is going to be different than a cedar elm size. And so I can't just sit here, like in Austin, it's like everything over 20 inches is protected, or a heritage tree or something like that. We didn't follow what Austin does when he wrote our ordinance. So it's a little convoluted, but it makes more sense from a horticultural, say that right, standpoint. It's better for the trees. Because that way we're not saving a 20-inch hackberry that could be a potential hazard. It's just not a across-the-board, blanket rule. So, all right, so our forestry team. So we have a team of 9 full-time employees. That doesn't seem like a lot because we cover all of the city. I mean, we live in the Parks Department, but we take care of all the trees in the Parks Department and in other places, as you'll see. So we have a small tree care crew, consists of 3 forestry technicians, and then they have a crew leader. And so they're the ones that you see riding, not riding around, going from work site to work site in the chipper, with our chipper truck, and performing tree care throughout the city. So one crew leader on the tree care. This team is responsible for all tree care work for the city of Round Rock. This includes all city facilities, city-owned land, as well as city right-of-ways. Our work is throughout the city, not just in city parks. So, and then the Brush Recycling Center is also under the Forestry Division umbrella. That consists of 3 parks maintenance workers or brush center representatives. The brush center is open 6 days a week from Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Brush is accepted from city residents only. The BRC is the drop-off location for a residential brush pickup service, and this is a service contracted out to our solid waste provider, Republic Services, previously known as Central Texas Refuse, or for folks that's been here for a while, Round Rock Refuse. Round Rock Refuse was the one who originally got that contract. They just kept buying each other out. So, and now we have one arborist. His job is primarily to support the efforts of the entire division in the Forestry Manager. So if he didn't have enough helping with the tree care team, the brush recycling, doing city, doing all the inspections, he has to listen to me and do the stuff I need him to do as well. So I know he's tired of it by the end of the day. So one forestry manager, that's me. I oversee the whole division and I manage a budget of over $900,000. We also have a tree care contract where I know it sounded like we had, one crew was a lot for the city, and it is, it is for them to care for the whole city. But we also have a contract with private tree care companies that we can utilize when we need to. When we have a bigger project that I can't lose our little crew on, we can put another crew on it and get it done that way. So that's been a lifesaver for us. All those jobs with poison ivy, it's like, call the tree care contractor. So it just kind of helps save our backs and saves from me losing a crew in a big project for a week. But we got our little crew is probably more like a hot shot crew, putting out small fires and stuff that's going on around the city as far as tree work is concerned, and trying to care for the trees that we planted. So
this may be a loaded question, but is that list of contractors public information, or put another way, how do I find a good arborist?
ISA website has find an arborist feature on their website. So look under International Society of Arboriculture, the Texas chapter, and you can find it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. We do refer out to some of the contractors that we've used in the past, because we know that they're good, or we wouldn't continue to do business with them. So sometimes we give out those names, but it's not. In fairness, I have to give out several names, so I'm not.
Understand.
Yeah. So. All right. So I'll talk a little bit more about the Brush Recycling Center. Who's used that service? Who's taken the brush out to BRC? All right. Who's had brush pickups at their house?
Where did you get that monster truck? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, Republic has one, and we have one. So That saves a lot of work, a lot of
That's
work.
really cool.
Because Ken and I, when that program first started, it was, they'd call in and we'd get a list of about 10 houses. Ken and I would go out with the chipper truck, work all day, getting that done. And then as the city grew, we'd get 15, requests. And then we'd go out and work a day, and then we'd go into the next day. And then next time, 6 months later, we're getting 25 requests. We're doing it for 2 straight days, and then on the Friday, we got a trailer going, to try to keep up with the growth of the city. And luckily, to put together an agreement, a contract with the solid waste services, and we started getting it done that way, and Ken and I are happy. Much happier. So residents that live in the full-purpose city limits and pay city taxes may drop off brush up to 2 cubic yards for free. Medium and large size loads are charged fees regardless of residency. So there's the outline there. It's on our website, and it's on the sign out there at the recycling center for the pool. So between, I think, the brush recycling center and the residential brush pickup, those are 2 really good deals, 2 really good services for our citizens. I think it's a wonderful thing for them. It keeps the brush off the side of the road, illegal dumping, that sort of stuff. So brush recycling center services continue. So I talked about the residential curbside brush pickup already, and so out of all the brush that comes into the recycling center, the brush recycling center, we have a large grinder out there that we feed the brush into, and it comes out as mulch. And so the mulch is available to our citizens for free pickup if they want to come and load their pickup trucks or the backs of their cars. Or we've seen mulch go into cars and places that it should never go into. But when you say free, you got to expect that things are going to happen. We've had Mercedes pull up, they just open up their trunk and start shoveling mulch into it, So it's, free is free, I guess.
Maybe that's why they buy a Mercedes.
There's a lot to be said about being frugal. So now, if you don't want to load up your mulch, we'll load up 2 cubic yards of mulch into your pickup for a fee of $10 and $5 for each additional cubic yard. So if you get, 2 cubic yards is a lot to unload by when you get back home. But we have that service. You just have to sign a waiver. And then we have the mulch delivery, where we can drop mulch off at your house. It's in bulk. It's 5 cubic yards minimum. So that's a lot for your yard, but you can always share it with your neighbors. So 5 cubic yards for $50. You call in the main office to order that. You might see Ken show up at your front door in a dump truck. Give you a large quantity of mulch. So that is another really, really good deal. What's that? No, sorry.
Just curious, is the mulch treated for termites, or is it wood from everywhere?
Yeah, it's we used to sell it to Austin Wood Recycling, and they would take it back to their yard, bag it up, and sell it back to you at Home Depot as native Texas hardwood mulch. But no, there's no need to treat it for termites or the poison ivy or anything like that. When we process brush into mulch, it gets rid of most all of that issues. I've had some people complain that they did get like poison ivy from our mulch, but those people probably might be a little bit more sensitive than most, but usually that process takes out, the grinding process takes that out. So.
As well as termites?
What's that?
As well as termites?
Yeah. termites. We don't really have, most of our termites are under Ken. Here's a bug guy. He's a bug guy in another life. It's usually, you know, in your homes, not so much in rotted, decayed wood naturally occurring. So,
I don't know if I've ever seen any termites at the brush recycling center on mulch. I don't think I've ever seen any termite colonies out there.
if you've ever been out to the recycling center and seen how much mulch we have, come out and get some. Please, yeah.
You said that the things that you deliver to the home is a pretty large thing.
5 cubic yards.
Are
So
you able to say, okay, I'll pay for the larger things, but just order me deliver a smaller amount?
well, it's got it. Be careful how I say this. We have to make it worth our time as well to go out and deliver it, you know, on a one-to-one basis. So our minimum is 5 cubic yards. So you'll get charged the $50. You might be able to sweet talk it into a smaller load, but you know, we're still going to charge you $50 for those 5 cubic yards. Yeah.
I was just wondering if we had specials for seniors that might be 83, you know.
No, not at this moment we don't.
Senior specials.
Yeah, no, not at this moment, so. But we got plenty, if you want to just come by and fill up your trash can, you know, in the back of your truck or, you know, whatever, come get it for free. So now we're going to move on to the work that we get to do in the parks. So this is our tree planting. So we're going to talk about tree planting. So over the last 22, 23 years, we've planted over 7,500 trees in parks and public spaces. So as you can see, the image on your left, we planted downtown at the Water Tower Park. That was part of a bunch of trees we planted with the Southwest Downtown redevelopment. So that came in phases. This was the phase with the best picture of the Water Tower. So
Are the trees on Main Street downtown all watered individually?
all the trees that we plant have irrigation on them.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
Yes,
you.
sir. And if you look at the tree on the right, we've been starting to plant bigger and bigger trees over the years. When I first started, we planted little 30-gallon trees, but we did a lot of it with community volunteers. So 30-gallon tree is a lot easier for the average folk to move around, dig a hole for, and plant. So we did a lot with community volunteers, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name it. We had a lot of people show up at our Arbor Day tree plantings. Over the years, we have planted out every park in the city. So all the city parks we planted trees in. So we've gone to plant bigger trees. So we don't have to plant so many. So with that, it comes with its own challenges. But yeah, we planted a lot of trees in a lot of city parks and public spaces. So. Yeah, so right now, since we're not hitting the tree planting, hard, we're planting trees in the parks that we're redeveloping. So every time a park gets redeveloped, let's say they put a new pavilion and a trail in, we'll go and put trees around the pavilion on both sides of the trail, and just do those sorts of things. But we really no longer have enough spaces just to go out and just pick a park and plant the heck out. We kind of targeted to those redevelopments, and replacing trees lost to weather events.
So where do you get the trees that you plant? Where do you obtain the trees that you plant in the
Where do we-
parks and things like that?
Excuse me, what was the question?
Where do you obtain the trees?
Where we get them. So we don't buy them from a local nursery. We actually have relationships with a lot of local tree farms.
Oh, okay.
So we skip the retail portion and just go straight to the growers, because at one point in time we were buying large quantities of trees that if you're going to go into a regular nursery, you're like, okay, I'll take all of those trees. Then go to the next nursery and say, okay, I'll take all of your trees. And so instead of doing that, we just started working working partnerships with local tree farms, where we go down and take our picks, make sure we're getting the best tree. Yeah, so it's basically on the wholesale market. Let's see, I got some pictures for Ken to explain.
Yeah, so this is a big planting right here out of Old Settlers at the new start finish line. You guys know where that is? Right on Harold Parkway, across from the tennis parking lot. So those are what are they, 300 gallon
At least.
bald cypress. We planted, yeah.
So
Took
they're
a train to lift them up.
Yeah, only four to a tree to a tractor trailer. That's how big they are. It was.
Is it true that an undisturbed tree has the same amount of root as it does limbs?
What we have been taught is if you look at a wine glass,
Yes.
you know how the wine glass has, the big cup part, that would be like the canopy of the tree, and then the stem is the trunk. Then you have a little base on
Yes.
your wine glass. Well, imagine putting that onto a plate. So you look at the scale of that, and that's how we're taught. That's how much root,
The plate.
critical root zone.
The plate side.
Yeah, the root zone that the tree would have.
What? Undoubtedly, that's enough root to support that tree,
Yeah, because
or
that's
you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, because that's the only roots that tree's ever known. It started out in that pot as a
Oh.
whip,
Okay.
as a little single
Yeah.
stem, and then it has been grown and bumped up in
So
all sides.
they're compact.
Yeah. So the trick is
Compact.
when you're planting a tree that big is to be able to get the roots to go out into the undisturbed soil around it. So it'll take over and have a rooting system like I had just explained.
Okay.
And we also stake them, when we plant them, we stake them for the first at least year until they get themselves rooted in, so they don't blow over.
Yeah, don't blow over, and you don't want the root ball to rock back and forth, because as soon as it sends out roots into undisturbed soil, if the root ball moves, and it's breaking those roots that's trying to get established.
Yes.
So we have to keep it, try to keep it stabilized with stakes.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
We've learned the hard way that that's the best way to do it. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible to successfully move a heritage live oak, a large, beautiful live oak? Can you actually dig up enough roots and plant it somewhere else?
It can be done if you follow anything that's going on UT campus.
Yes,
I think
that's what my question is.
Yeah.
Why didn't they move those oaks?
Well, you have to have forethought on this. You have to have planning way out in advance. I mean, I'm not talking about 6 months out. I'm talking like a couple of years. You got this plan to build this building. That tree's in the way. You can start you can start prepping that root ball for movement years out. But once you prep it, you're cutting it, and it is curing the root ball, and there's care that needs to be taken in preparation for that movement. Yeah. And that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
But it was so heartbreaking to see those huge oaks
Yeah, no, I agree. But a lot of times it's like when you have a development, they realize how costly that is, and okay, well, let's move it. Well, you need to think about that well in advance before you can just pull the trigger on something like that, because it's going to cost a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to do it, and if it's unsuccessful, then that's two crimes in my book. You know, killing a big monarch tree, you know, which is, you know, protected, and then you just spend a lot of money, you know, doing something that wasn't sustainable in the first place.
Not necessarily you can afford it. Take a little bit of that football money and put it in trees.
That's crazy talk.
Speaking of money, what is for a huge tree, the electrical, what's the cooling?
Yeah, there's been a lot of studies on that, and I don't have those numbers on me, but you've got it's going to be considerable if you're removing a large tree that shaded your roof, and you know, let's say you lost that in an ice storm or something like that. Your heating and cooling bills are just going to go up. You know,
I know they're going to go up.
They're going to increase. I just don't know by what percentage.
I can't get solar plates on the roof because of my tree. I'm keeping the tree.
Yeah. That's a whole nother talk. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that was that project. That was the one out there at the start finish line at Old Settlers. And we've done a few other ones like that. We did at Play for All Abilities Park. We did the same thing, planted huge trees in there. So yeah, we've kind of gone to some projects where you plant huge trees. And so far, they're all doing pretty good. They're all hanging in there.
As you can see, it takes, you know, specialized equipment just to get them all to the side and then to plant them. That equipment we have to rent because we don't own a SkyTrack of that size. So it takes a lot of planning to get those bigger ones done. And of course, to me, the stakes are higher because you spend a lot more money on that tree to buy it, put it in the ground, and so it takes a lot of maintenance up front because you don't want to lose it. But usually in those kind of projects, you plant that big tree, and then they build stuff around it, then you can't get back into that big tree to replace it with the same equipment that you used to plant the first time. So it's a risk. It's, you know, beating the odds. So we kind of like it's good places.
All right, so with the tree work, what our crew did, just our small little crew, we worked on 2,681 trees last year. And that includes everything from just pruning, storm damage repair, pruning out dead and broken limbs out of trees, raise them above streets, that type of thing, in right-of-ways. We do a lot of young tree pruning in the parks, pruning them up for structure, so they grow to be, you know, big and healthy. And then also we do a lot of work around the city buildings where you have to prune to keep it off the building, keep it above the sidewalks, all that kind of stuff.
What about a dead tree, specifically behind the mansion on McNeil? It's dead.
Okay.
Uh,
Is it in their behind in their fence, or is it outside?
It's on the street side of the fence.
Okay, city right away.
Yes,
Yeah, we'll probably need to address that sooner or later.
Yeah.
because there are some dead limbs that make a big dent in the car.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll usually be on those, you know, removing them when it's going to become a hazard.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's still got some green in it. It's still got some
Yeah.
life. Yeah, but
One
yeah,
of
it's
them-
definitely going the wrong way.
Huge
Yeah.
poison ivy vine too.
Sometimes that's the only thing green on.
Speaking of pruning, for the DIYers, do we need to sanitize pruning equipment? You know, when we go from one tree to another?
If you're dealing with oaks, you know, some people will say use Lysol, you know, to spray it, just to be really safe. Basically, what you really want to do is you want to make sure you prune all your cuts on any live oak tree you make. Just prune it or paint it so you know you don't get the knitted dooley beetle come in and deliver you some oak wilt. So the paint will cover the smell of it, so they won't be able to attract it to it, just to keep them off. So
Yeah, it's best practices, and we do it every time to set a good example and make sure everybody's doing it. They see us do it, and so a lot of times they'll do that themselves. So we like to follow those best management practices. We encourage the citizens to do the same. So storms, we get too many of those. These are just some tips for tree care to keep your trees from suffering so badly in case we get another round of storms. So large trees should not be placed under utility wires. I think we all know that. Make sure the tree has plenty of room to grow and the roots to hold into the soil. Trees should be pruned to develop strong form. That's why we do so much young tree pruning with the trees that we plant. Remove dead trees. Refrain from tree topping. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but don't do it. It's you need to make proper pruning cuts, and we're happy to go over those with you at another point in time. During a big storm, or during like a smaller everyday, let's just say we got a thunderstorm to move through, and you know there's a lot of people who has damage to their trees, but it's not like a citywide event. And a lot of times that's just going to end up falling back on the homeowners to take care of their own property and the brush that's generated by the storms. This past ice storm, there has to be a declaration from our city manager that this is a local emergency before the city gets involved, like we did, you know, this last ice storm, and take care of all that stuff. So, and then that's going to lead us into our storm response that we've been doing too much of lately.
yeah, so we had the little ice storm, and then the tornado, and then the big ice storm. You know, 3 back-to-back years. So we lost a lot of trees in those 3 events. A lot of work cleaning up.
A lot of work cleaning up, and then that put us behind on our regularly scheduled programming, so to speak. So we were like, this is our first year playing catch up after those 3 years of, you know, because we do a lot of our work in the spring, you know, coming out of winter. And so we spent 3 years doing that. We got behind. So we're trying to catch up on all of that. That picture on the right is in front of Clay Matson Rexon that took a direct hit with the tornado. And this is Ken operating our big truck just right out here front after the big ice storm. So, the slideshow. Yeah. All right, any other questions?
What time of year should I have pruning done on my trees, or does it vary by species?
We like to do ours in the wintertime after they've gone dormant. So, you know, minimize the stress on them. So that's what we try to do on our young tree pruning and everything. And there's other, you know, we'll be pruning all year round when we get calls saying, hey, this limb's low in the street, a truck hit it, all that kind of stuff that we have to get out at pretty much any time.
Yeah, but if you're just pruning for structure or raising it up around your house,
Wintertime's best.
wintertime's best. For us, with a trained eye, the trees, that leaves fall off the canopy, then we can see the structure of the trees and the limbs that are crossing are not correctly attached. And so for us, it's better to do it without the leaves on it so we can actually, you know, have a clearer view of what we're doing. But a live oak's a live oak and you're not going to get to see that. Yes, sir.
Question, as I go around town, I occasionally see trees that have a metal tag on them, a round metal tag with a number on them, and sometimes they have a ribbon around these certain trees. What's that telling us?
Okay, so that tells you that there was a tree survey being done on whatever property that was. So, but that don't mean that that's a monarch tree or it's a sage tree or whatever. When someone's wanting to develop on their land, one of the requirements is to have a tree survey done. And so it's basically a tree inventory. So they'll, the surveyors will tag that tree with a number, and they usually put a ribbon around it at diameter of breast height, so that's 4.5. So that's usually where those are, and that's where those tags are. And so that's just, and then they'll have a table and a list. So if somebody needs to go out and look at, tree number 471, because it's monarch size, I get it, I can go out there and know exactly where it is on the property, what size it is and what species it is.
Does that necessarily mean that it's gonna be taken out or
No, it's
saved,
just-
or what does it mean?
It just means that it's been surveyed.
So when they survey it, is there a standard, like when they use a white ribbon or yellow?
I think it's whatever they got in the truck.
Oh, maybe this means that.
Do you still have issues with oak wilt? And also, back in the 80s, when they were expanding the state capitol, I remember they were moving big trees around to get them out of the way, and they replanted them.
Yeah, so we still have oak wilt centers. We still have oak wilt. It's not going to go away. It's just what's the best management practices? There are people who own the property or utility company coming through to keep the oak wilt, to keep from spreading. You're not going to get rid of it. It's just a matter of keeping it from spreading. And there are several oak wilt centers around.
I just wanted to give you guys some kudos because I've had 2 opportunities to work with you all. A few years ago, we had a tree that we thought was dying on our property, and a big king came out and told us exactly what we needed to do. It is still alive today. And then recently I called because I was concerned about a tree near our neighborhood, the Disney tree is what they call it.
Okay.
And Ricci called me back immediately and calmed me down because I thought the tree was going to die. And so it was just great experience. I just wanted to say
Thank you. The Disney tree has a life. That tree has gotten a life of its own.
So in the flyer that we had for their presentation this go round, there was a picture on it that we had taken one Saturday over at Full Settlers, close to one of the trails over there.
Yeah, next to
right
Del
behind
Diamond.
Del Diamond. And Ricci said that they would explain to us about these trees. It's a very unusual
It's
formation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like a little mock. I guess that's what you call a little grove of live oaks that's growing right on the banks of Lake Creek. We came across it one day, really doing unity and a cohesion project within the Parks and Recreation Department. Basically, we had everybody cleaning around that creek. And my boss at the time, it looked like just overgrowth. You couldn't even tell there was a tree actually there. It just looked like the rest of the creek was kind of overgrown. So we started doing some pruning and some removals, and kind of started to see that this was more than just a bunch of trees kind of growing together and a big mishmash of stuff. Once we started cleaning out the other invasive species underneath it, started to notice that this actually had a shape. So the trunk would be here on the creek side, and then the limbs grew up and they grew straight down. But we all know live oaks have a tendency to grow down, but grow down, around the canopy, not just on one side. So really when we started pruning it and doing stuff, doing work on it, it was like if you were pruning the limbs that were on the ground, you're actually pruning the top of the tree because of where it was, how it bent down like that. So without knowing it, we started topping this tree, because usually if you're topping a tree, you're topping it top of the canopy, not, you know, the big limbs that are coming down. So we just kept looking at it. So finally, Enzoom got in, and you could see that it was just a bow shape, and you could literally walk underneath it, but still have a big canopy over the top. And we thought it was really cool, so, you know, went to work on it, made a little trail underneath it, you know, so for everybody to enjoy. A few years later, somebody called and wanted to know about it and gave me this story about how the Native Americans would do that with their oak trees or trees in general to provide themselves with shelter and protection, someplace to hide, someplace to sleep, whatever. And he asked me if that was true. I said, well, no, I wasn't there. But it sounds reasonable, because if you, like, I don't know if you guys ever been down to Rockport or been someplace along the coast where you have the windswept trees, windswept oaks. You know, if you get a prevailing southerly breeze, the trees are going to grow this way. Well, you're on the creek side, and you got south prevailing south winds coming across a large open field, but the trees are pointed or grown into the wind. So I say that's a good story that he gave us, because if you look at all the cultural conditions and everything in that area, that would make sense.
And the location of them is higher elevation than looking off to the south from where they are. So if you were trying to take cover, or it was your place to be protected and to engage in warfare, that would be a good vantage point for you.
Yeah, because you got a creek with protection on one side with flowing water, and then you've got an open field going towards a brushy creek, and you know, you can fish, hunt, eat pecans there all day long. There's a lot of big pecan trees around there as well.
Pretty good folklore.
Sounds good.
Since none of us were there, we don't know.
I've been here for 21 years, but I'd have retired by now.
Is there any magic way to pick up those seed clouds that fall off of southern magnolias, or is it just a matter of having to get in there with a rake?
Yeah, trash pickers. You get tired of bending over. I don't know. So fortunately, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of those native here, so issue for us, unless you have one.
Got several.
All right.
I thank you for your presentation. I've learned some things.
Have certificates for both of you gentlemen. I'll read this. Ricci Strayhorn, Urban Forestry Manager, City of Round Rock. And their talk today was improving the city's landscape and environment. Ricci Strayhorn is recognized for his contributions to the City of Round Rock Urban Forestry Department. He's served our city for 21 years in the forestry department, providing his experience in the tree care industry to further Round Rock's efforts to protect the city's landscape and environment. Round Rock Preservation and the City of Round Rock Historic Preservation Office, thank you for presenting at our October 2024 Discovering Round Rock History program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for Ken Rogers, who is the Arborist for the City of Round Rock. Ken has served the City of Round Rock for 18 years in the Urban Forestry Department. Round Rock Preservation recognizes Ken for his contributions in providing citizens valuable services to protect the natural landscape and environment of Round Rock. Round Rock Preservation in the City of Round Rock Historic Preservation Office, thank you for presenting at our October 2024 Discovering Round Rock History program. This part of it, the storm response, I have friends and relatives that live in other communities around us, and their cities did not take good care of them with brush disposal. If you had any tree damage, you know what I'm talking about, how that was? Round Rock did a superb job of taking care of the citizens of this community, removing all of that brush very quickly. So we appreciate you very much for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Judy, could the three of you come out a little bit closer and
Squeeze through there. Done?
Sure, I got my eyes closed on one of those.
Great questions today, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we're not quite finished because we need to do door prizes. And I want to explain about our door prizes today. I want to give a shout out to the Parks and Recreation Department. They have donated some things to us for our door prizes. And Amy, will you tell about the
Yes.
pretty pottery that we have?
Yes, we're so lucky that we have 3 pieces of pottery that a local potter, Judy Conroy, has donated. She started Feats Ceramics in Boston in 1976, and about 13 years ago she moved to Round Rock. She lives at the corner of East Main and South Stone, and her husband is here with us today, Dick. So if you have any questions, you can ask him. She gives lessons, and they have a home there and a beautiful workshop that you can go in, where she has a kiln and she sells stuff. And mostly, she's a lovely woman, and she cares so much about this community and artists that this coming Saturday, she's having local painters come to her property. They'll be painting, they'll be displaying their art, and it's from 9 until noon, and you can just walk around and see what they're doing. You can visit her workshop, and you will love it. Her property is amazing. So I hope you'll take a little bit of time and come and visit.
And this is the Purple House on Main Street.
Yes, yes.
It'll be easy for you to find. Okay?
Did anybody not get?
We're gonna do our door prize drawing. Yeah, everybody have a ticket? That wants a ticket?
Backyard.
Okay, go ahead.
Shed is ready. Trunk splits. And I don't know, I should
And you
mention
can pick
it.
your own door prizes down, come up and pick what you want.
882892.
Me.
9-2.
All right, Ms. Ricky.
Your pin. But you can have.
Oh, is it my pick?
It's your pin.
Yeah, whatever you want. It's a smorgasbord.
You need that one.
That would have been my choice There you go. 2884.
I do.
All right. Mr. Conroy.
This is the lucky spot. If he
Just
wins it,
just walk up there.
This is a blanket from the city, a drink, and a bag.
I've got plenty of bags and it's all
Take a look.
and wherever it came from.
Parks and Recreation Department.
Alrighty. 2890. Can we get it?
Good morning, go.
2883.
I got that one.
All right.
Looks like a tree.
Last one by default.
Okay. 2891.
Is that you? So our next program will be in the month of February. Not certain of the date yet, but put that in your head. It'll be a Tuesday in February, either the second or third Tuesday of the month of February. We'll be sending out information. If you didn't sign in for us when you came in, if you would please do that before you go, and that way we can communicate with you and let you know exactly when it will be. All right, any other questions for our arborist? We appreciate y'all being here today.